methodology and methods. So by methodology, we're referring to the framework within which we think about, design, implement, evaluate, reflect on methods. So the methods are the specific, structured in some way or other, modes of inquiry, ways of asking questions, which have certain commitments built into them, which are obviously helpful in order to get a kickback from the world, the social world, the natural world, which then informs you about the way the world is. Methodology is ways to think about those and how they fit together. So already there's a commitment there that no one method is going to be able to, even if an integrated, elaborate one, is going to be able to inform us on all the dimensions we're interested in. It's about helping to appreciate alternative pathways. That's what these methods are about. And when we get confused in the complex morass of detail that's coming, and already happened a bit, that's the sort of fulcrum. And why have we chosen those words? We use the word help, because method alone can't do the whole job. It can only ever help. The idea that you can somehow say, well, let's leave it to a method, is not only misguided, but often quite dangerous. Because there are also encompassing practices, processes, institutions, discourses, within which methods have meaning and function. And anyway, the process of appreciation takes place on a very aggregate level in political discourse, and methods can't do it for you, whether they be pristine, consensus-based Habermasian deliberation, or absolutely rigorous, 10-year-long forensic, multi-country agricultural analyses of the kind that are quite fashionable in global governance circles. So methods, then, are conditioned by institutions and practices. But the flip side of that is they can also help shape them. So there is a danger, a pathology, that there are certain quarters who invest in academia too much attention on methods. Let's have the right tools. What are the tools? Don't tell us about them, give us the tools. And there's value in that. But then the reaction to that is, well, hey, tools, if you reify what a tool is, you're missing the importance of context. But the other side of that is, tools can influence their context as well. Methods embody, crystallized out, certain kinds of assumptions and commitments about the world, which can then unfold in different institutional settings. So this is that, we've touched on it a couple of times, that kind of below-the-radar Trojan horse political judo effect. So if you have a method, for instance, that looks like a quite technocratic decision analysis quantitative method, it can, under the right circumstances, get into institutions that are otherwise closed to qualitative appreciations of the kind of steps it's quite keen on. And only when they're in there do they realise there are levers on this thing. I'm thinking now about multi-criteria mapping, which Sean will talk about. It looked like a Cartesian sort of positivist method, but when it gets in there they find, actually, oh, hang on, there's a lever here, what does this do? Oh my god, the whole answer changes if we pull this lever. And there's a number of levers like this. It's not what we thought, it's quantitative, but it's yielding very different pictures of different framings. So there is that dynamic as well, that we can hope sometimes to achieve. That's why I'm simply speaking of helping. It's about appreciation, because it's not just about understanding and epistemology, it's about evaluation and normativity. Appreciating is about both those things. It's about knowledge and action. It's about alternatives, because right at the core of it is a critical focus on alternatives. Not a hegemonic aggregating idea, like let's pull these things together, but really looking for those axes of contention. Especially, and this is where we try to have our cake and eat it, with our normativity within it, reflecting and favouring marginal interests, which will obviously vary depending on the context. If a global analysis of who's in, who's out, may not actually be reproduced at a micro level, where you get settings in which, for instance, social science is a dominant influence on appreciations of what the possibilities are, whereas in general that's not the case. And we're looking at pathways, plural. We're looking at not identifying a single pathway, but looking at what types of pathways look salient, look preferable, vary depending on the context, depending on the perspective that's taken. So, a STEPS methodology then is an ordered repertoire of conditionally appropriate methods. So, the methods are going to be conditionally appropriate. When one speaks of why we're using a method, we don't just say we're using this method because we're affiliated with X disciplinary framework. There's reasons for it. And we're trying now in this talk to explore what those reasons might be. But they concern the scope, the depth, the sensitivity, how complementary different methods might be. Because these are portfolios, these repertoires, they'll have strengths and weaknesses in respect of what we're interested in, and we can compensate that for different methods. So I'm going to try and say something then, to be a bit more clear-cut, about how we might think about those fitting together of different methods, what are the key ways in which they can complement each other, the different jobs they can do.